Welcome back to Big Mouth and welcome to the dceu Daily. Remember, you can tag me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. You need to be gentle with me, everyone, today. Terrible hangover. There was a bit of a pool party. I was entertaining some ladies. They drank a lot. They were very thirsty ladies. But I've got a terrible headache today. So we're going to do this, but we're going to do this at my pace today. So today I want to talk about the dceu, a terrible franchise with some really great movies in it. So the usual disclaimer is that I love Zack Snyder and I love his dceu movies. I love his dceu trilogy thus far because that's what it is at this moment in time. Now, one of the reasons I hated Justice League was because of the way they brought back Superman from the dead. Now, Zack's version, Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut, gives it a bit more nuance and depth, and it's much more improved. But I still don't like it. Why don't I like it? Because the original story in the comics is a hell of a lot fucking better, right? He fights Doomsday, an alien who arrives in a meteor, right? He's buried underground. Lex Luthor's people are digging underground and accidentally discover Doomsday. And then Doomsday kind of causes havoc, right? It's brilliant. He kills, him and Superman fight. They kill each other. It's awesome. Superman dies. The Justice League are at Superman's funeral. One of the best panels of the death of Superman is that moment you see them at Superman's funeral. But you can't do that, can you? Because there's no Justice League yet in BVS. I don't understand, right, how anyone has the idea to do a Superman rebirth story in a Justice League movie. I suppose I am being critical of Zack here, even though I love him and I love his movies. You're kind of squeezing it into the movie. Let's not forget that the original Justice League from Zack Snyder was going to be nowhere near 4 hours long. You're talking at about, he would have got 2 hours, 50 minutes if he was lucky, right? So you're doing this Justice League movie, you're adding Steppenwolf, you're adding Darkseid to a lesser extent, but he's still there, and Darkseid's great, and Zack Steppenwolf is great, and it's all awesome. But as well as introducing these Justice League characters, you've also got to do a Superman rebirth story, and I'm sorry, there's not much focus on Superman or the consequences he felt of being dead. So, although there is nuance to at least how Zack brings him back, I don't like it. I don't like how they're digging his body up and they chuck him in the pool of kind of Kryptonian goo. I like the stuff that they do with the Mother Box and the Flash, but that has very little to do with Superman and the nuance. He comes out, he fights them because he doesn't know where he is. He sees Lois, boom, he's okay. But it's not really focused on Superman that much, right? I still don't like the line about Lois saying that he smells different or good. Didn't I before? I hate that line. Look, I'm going to be honest here. This is my channel and I have to be honest. These are the consequences of killing him in BVS. Now, I love his death in BVS. It really is compelling. But I'm going to be honest here. They did kill him too soon. Zack said that's not even the Doomsday, the kind of the DC Doomsday, if you like, the Doomsday that we read in The Death of Superman. Well, that's great and everything, Zack. The CGI and VFX for your Doomsday looks great. But why not do the actual Doomsday story? Why? Maybe because it all comes a bit too soon. We have a really good Superman film that sets everything up. Surely we should have just done a Batman movie, right? This is why I argue if the Nolan Dark Knight trilogy was actually the starting kind of foundation of the DCEU, it would have made a lot more sense. But even without that, give Batman his stage, right? Now, the original thing was to rush through a Man of Steel sequel, but why? Give those other characters room to breathe. Now, we talk about them having room to breathe in Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut. That they do. But it's a very difficult task to do all of these things in one Justice League movie. And it doesn't make sense, and I don't like the way they brought him back. I never did. And I thought that was Whedon. But pretty much Whedon was just editing round what Zack did originally. So I don't like it, right? If you're going to do that, you might as well scrap Darkseid and scrap Steppenwolf, although I like that arc and I like that story. But it's your fault that I'm having to do this because you're squeezing in a Superman Rebirth story in a Justice League movie. Wouldn't it have made more sense, at the very least, to actually copy and paste the Rebirth story from the comics, right? Where he comes back, he's dead for a while, he comes back, and all these different versions of Superman come back or are around all of a sudden. Wow. It would have been amazing. Amazing. And then the Justice League have to fight these different versions, right? And then Superman rises, does the things he does in the comics when he comes back to life. And then he joins the Justice League to fight these different versions of Superman. If you're going to do it, and even then, it's difficult, but at least if you're going to kill Superman, the Justice League movie has to be about Superman's rebirth. Totally, right? A black flag on a screen isn't good enough, right? You have to do this properly. And as a Superman fan, he's my guy. He's the character I've always stand, and I love the whole of the DC universe, and I love all these characters. I do. I genuinely do. But it simply doesn't work to do a Superman Rebirth story in a Justice League movie. And I've probably spoken about this before on this channel a long time ago. And again, a bit scared of getting cancelled. But at the end of the day, if I can't speak my mind on my own channel, where nobody comes in and watches it anyway, I appreciate the people that do. Always will. Always have. Always will. That's my problem. You killed him too soon, right? And as I say, this is a franchise with great movies. Man of Steel is a great movie. Batman vs. Superman is a great movie. Even the Suicide Squad version they patched together is a solid movie. Wonder Woman's one of the greatest CBM movies, as you know. I love Aquaman, right? I love Aquaman, and as I've already said a billion times, Shazam is brilliant for its target audience of families and children. It's great, right? So there's a lot of great movies. And Zack Snyder's Justice League is a great film in its own merits. But I'll repeat, you can't kill Superman off and do him justice in a Justice League. Now, the elephant in the room, of course, is that Justice League Snyder Cut movie we saw wasn't supposed to be the end of the story. That's why he's still got the black costume when he flies into the air at the end of the movie, or near the end of the movie. I understand that Zack had plans. And in the third movie, he reckons it was going to be like a proper Superman front and centre movie. That's great, Zack, but we're not going to get that. Or we want to get that, but we probably won't get that, or we don't know if we're going to get that. We're fighting for that, but we never thought we'd get the Snyder Cut and we got it, so maybe we will get it. But that's neither here nor there. It's a very difficult ask. And one of the main reasons that the DCEU franchise is a bad franchise with some great movies in it is because the story doesn't bleed through. Zack's story doesn't bleed through the entire DCEU. Now, yes, it would have. Yes, it would have. David Ayer's version, the Ayer cut of the Suicide Squad, would have had, I think, some Steppenwolf stuff in it, as we already know. Right? And I'm sure the Wonder Woman we would have got, if it wasn't for the reaction of BVS, would have been different in terms of cameos and stuff going on to bleed through into Justice League, right? So then you have Justice League 1, then you have Aquaman, some stuff can bleed through for the next one, and they can do that with the other movies. So it would have been Zack's universe, and I understand that. But they drove him away because Zack Snyder's vision of Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman wasn't commercially viable. I can say that, but still love those movies. They wasn't. They didn't work commercially. They didn't work for the mainstream audience. And although his Justice League Snyder Cut movie has worked commercially, nobody can deny that success. Would of Justice League 2, which would have been set in the nightmare future, which would have been fucking awesome for me and for you. But again, people would have had issues with it. Now, Justice League 3, where they fight, they fight the new gods, whoever they're going to fight, sounds fucking awesome. What Zack had planned was fucking awesome. So then, let's think about that. If we do this rebirth story via 3 Justice League movies, potentially, it could have worked. In fact, it probably would have. But that's the problem here. That's the very problem. I'm left with a Justice League movie with very little Superman, my favourite character, my favourite fictional character of all time, and that's that. We barely saw him. There was very little kind of, let's see how this has all affected him. Where's the people, when he comes back to look at him and be happy he's alive? Not there, because that would have come afterwards. We don't get that now, right? So I know why you're hearing me say you can't do a rebirth story in the middle of a Justice League movie. And you're shouting at the screen saying, yeah, Justice League 2 and Justice League 3. But I don't have a Justice League 2 and a Justice League 3 to judge or to react to or to do a video about. That's the real problem here. That's the issues here, everyone. That's the issues that I have. What Zack was doing from the beginning was a very challenging thing to do. He had his arc, he had his vision, and I wish we had that vision. Because as I say, everything would have bled through everything. It wouldn't have just been the Justice League trilogy. The other movies in the franchise would have all bled through these storylines. We probably would have had Superman cameos. We probably would have had another Man of Steel movie, maybe with Superman just in that black costume. Maybe we would have had that. Maybe we could have had that Codex sequel. But Zack was driven from the franchise because, as I say, it wasn't commercially viable. So this was never going to happen, was it? This was never going to work. Zack was working against the force field, if you like. He had something amazing to do, but because it wasn't commercially viable and it didn't have the success and it had the toxicity around it and the studio shit themselves naturally because they want to make money, they want to be successful, right? I mean, Warner Brothers isn't a charity, right? We have to be honest here. We have to be straight when we talk about things. I know lots of people do lots of different videos. And some Snyder stands have done very well out of YouTube videos by just blowing kisses to Zack, and that's fine. And as you know, I love his movies. He's a very talented director, filmmaker, and storyteller. And no one can say different. He has a talent, and it's there. And he's made 3 wonderful DC movies, right? And we understand that. But you've killed him off, right? It's like the neck snapping. Think about this. It's about the neck snapping. He snaps Zod's neck, and it's never mentioned again. There's no consequences, and there's no character consequences. We know in Batman vs. Superman what the storyline is. We know why he has to die. He makes a sacrifice, and he shows the world that they were wrong about him. I get that. And the whole idea is that he comes back, he helps the Justice League, the newly found infancy of the Justice League, and then you've got another 2 films and other DCEU movies to bleed this through. We don't have that anymore. We have 1 Justice League movie that's not even canon, apparently. So you kind of killed Superman off, and we don't know how he feels. We don't have his storyline. We don't have the middle bit. We don't have the end bit. We don't have Henry Cavill's continuation. Who knows if we ever will? Nobody actually knows what's going on with Cavill. So you have 1 movie where he's in it very, very little. And I don't like the way they brought him back, and I apologise if that upsets you. But I think if you're honest, and if you're a Superman fan, you're not happy with the way he was brought back. It makes no sense. The Superman Lives story is much better in the comics, and it works. And when I went to see Justice League, because I didn't know I was going to see a Justice League, I thought I was going to see a Zack Snyder film, continuing the themes and threads, with Joss Whedon just finishing it off. I was naive like the rest of the world. I expected to see a proper rebirth story for Superman in a Justice League movie. I didn't know how they were going to do it, but that's what I expected. I expected them to at least, if not copy and paste the way they bring him back to life, at least do put bits and pieces of it there. But to do that, the whole film has to be based off of Superman's death. And that's the problem with killing him. It simply doesn't work in the long run. He simply just comes back. He helps them fight Steppenwolf, right? And again, the same issues with the Superman-Steppenwolf fight kind of still are there, just like with Justice League. Comes back, he's so powerful, and all that stuff, all that posturizing from Steppenwolf in the whole film where he looks so strong and so powerful and so intimidating. And credit to Zack, he did give him an arc. But I wanted to see more from Steppenwolf, by the way. I wanted to know more about that relationship between Steppenwolf and Darkseid for Steppenwolf's arc that Zack gave him to work. What is your relationship? What did you do to betray Darkseid? We don't know. That's it. What did he do? We'll never know. It's fill in the blanks. It's go on Vero and ask Zack. That's the way these things work. But I do like show and tell. I do like that. I don't want to be spoon-fed like some of these people. But these are some of the issues that we haven't spoken about yet. Because I woke up kind of frustrated about all of this. And I wanted to talk about it. And as I say, if you can't talk about these things open and honestly with your subscribers and people who are going to come in and watch these videos, what's the point of forming and conceiving a YouTube channel, right? If you're just going to go for the money and the success, you need to say what's in here. That's what social media is all about. That's the beauty of social media. So I'm not happy really with Superman's role in the film. Yeah, it's beautiful that he can hear Jonathan Kent's voice and Jor-El's voice, a.k.a. Russell Crowe, and Kevin Costner, two of the best actors who ever lived. Legends. And it's great to hear those voices. Love them, Cal. It's beautiful. And it's part of an arc. And it's great. And that element works for me. It really does. But the overpowered Superman basically easily defeating Steppenwolf, I'll be honest, it looks great. It's awesome. Zack pulls it off visually. But I don't like it. I don't like it because it's too quick and easy in the long run. He gets beaten too easily. I don't like that. I would have thought Steppenwolf could give Superman a good fight. I'm kind of surprised that he couldn't. That fight should have gone on a bit longer. And it's difficult. If you overpower Superman, you do make... I mean, I've argued against this, right? But I'll say it. When Superman is so overpowered that it's difficult, so you need Superman to be tamed in some way. You know, there's different ways. Magic, that's how you tame Superman, and kryptonite. So you've got to find a way, right? So Superman can be tamed a little bit, so that fight's fair, and the rest of the Justice League can be involved a lot more in that fight. And he has to go on for a bit longer, but it's not. It's all too easy for me. But, you know, that's me nitpicking, right? I like Zack Snyder's Justice League, by the way. I really do. But Superman just defeats him too easily. So I kind of hate that element of him beating him too easily. But my main gripe is that you can't do a Superman rebirth story in the middle of a Justice League movie. And these are the true facts. The filmmaker is talented. His films are amazing. They're unique. They're different. And they will stand the test of time. And I love them. And I will always go back and watch them and enjoy them. But this is the issue, isn't it? This is what I'm saying. The DCEU is a great franchise. No, let me say that again. The DCEU is a bad franchise with great movies in it. And that's the problem. And this goes to the Hamada plan. The Hamada idea is, right, let's just burn down things that don't work and kind of recreate, re-cement this franchise. Instead of burning it all down from Justice League and saying, let's just start again, which is the logical, sane idea, right? But they don't do that. They don't do that, everyone. They want to do Flashpoint. They want to open up the multiverse, right? They want the Flash to reboot the universe. Instead of, basically what they're doing is, instead of just saying, let's start from scratch, because studios don't like to admit they're wrong, so they fall. This way, the Flash can reboot this. We're actually rebooting the DCEU within a movie. Wow. So that has to work, right? As we've discussed on here so many times. But I'm sorry, Zack, and I'm sorry, fellow DCEU Snyder fans, because I am a fan of Snyder. I have to speak up about this. This should never have happened. Because, as I said earlier, imagine if Batman versus Superman, right? And because I've got a hangover, I can't remember what I said earlier. But anyway, imagine if Batman v Superman is a bit of a different story. Think about the nuance of this. That the meteorite arrives, Doomsday's buried in the ground, and Luthor Corp start drilling, like they do in the comics and the animated movies, right? Drilling down, And they're, you keep on getting to that bit where they're nearly there and Doomsday's there. And finally they find them. He kills the scientist like they do in the comics. And basically that's the thing, right? Because throughout the whole film, Lex actually wants to use whatever's down there. He's hoping this is his silver bullet. He's hoping, right? So that could have been part of the story. But you've still got the Batman versus Superman element, haven't you? You've still got Batman who isn't happy with Superman, and because of what happened in the first film. As I say, good film, brilliant film, Batman versus Superman. But in terms of part of a franchise, it's difficult, isn't it? Is the DCEU a great franchise, or is it a bad franchise with good movies in it? I think we all know the answer to that, right? Why not use the real Doomsday Zack? Why not, right? You're going to use Doomsday, do it properly. Have Luthor drilling for into that fucking meteor right from the very beginning, right? Do it. And then you've got the real Doomsday there, and it all plays out. But this is the problem. This is the problem. If you're going to do the Death of Superman, Superman Lives arc, you've got to do it via Superman movies, haven't you? Let's be honest about that, right? Let's be honest. That's how you do it. You do it within a Superman trilogy. But they'd already set up the codex. It was too soon for Doomsday. It was too soon for Superman to die. We all know that. Again, repeating it for the pie eaters in the room. I love Man of Steel. I love Batman versus Superman. And I love Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut. But in terms of a franchise, left how it is, because Zack Snyder isn't commercially viable, as I keep on saying, the proof of the pudding's in the eating. The reaction from people is there, so we know. You see all the toxicity online and you react to it. I react to it. But why is it there? The point is the toxicity towards Zack and his DCEU movies is there. That's the problem. That's the problem. Now, you're going to say to me, we need to educate these people to appreciate Zack, right? And a lot more people are appreciating Zack because of his Justice League movie. And that's great. That's brilliant, everyone. But at the end of the day, I'll repeat it for one last time. You can't do a Superman Rebirth story within a Justice League movie. No. And this is why this franchise doesn't work. And this is why they're rebooting the universe via a Flashpoint movie. Because for them, for Walter Hamada and Ann Sarnoff and Jim Lee, they need a universe, they need a DC franchise that works commercially. And this is the whole issue here. This is what they're trying to do. So there's a tug of war to restore the Snyderverse, but they don't want to restore the Snyderverse. They just want a commercially viable franchise. But then you're saying to me, everyone loved Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut. It's cool, man. It's cool. And you can restore that in a corner of HBO Max. And I'd love to have that. And I'd love for the rest of this story to be done. But then you've got Superman there. Are you going to have a Superman there? They're developing one. Who knows? The Superman of colour might be Kal-El, right? The black Superman we're getting could be Kal-El. That would be controversial, wouldn't it? I mean, I don't agree with that totally, but if they get the right actor and it works, who knows? This is the problem right now. This is the problem with this franchise. It's all very, very messy and uncomfortable through its inception because it didn't know. It had a director who's a great storyteller who can make individual movies. And we'll never know this. Well, maybe we will if we restore the Snyderverse. We'll never know if Snyder could have done this arc and handled it properly. I'm very suspicious and dubious that Kevin Feige did have a spy over at DC. Because isn't it interesting? Batfleck was going to sacrifice his life way before Stark was. But Stark sacrificed his life, right, in Endgame. There's too many similarities there as well. So there was too many things against Zack and his vision, wasn't there, from the beginning. And as I say, we'll never know. We'll never know if Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman, Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman, Zack Snyder's Justice League, then other films bleeding this arc into their individual standalone films would have worked in the end. And then by the time we got the third Justice League movie, if this would have worked, I suspect that it would have worked, right? But right now we don't have that franchise. Zack Snyder's not running the central universe. I suspect he wants the keys back, and this is what the fight's about. This is what the tug of war is about. Warner Brothers Pictures don't want him to get the keys, and he does. I suspect this is why we're getting hit pieces by Warner Brothers Pictures, and why we're getting Zack's people doing tell-all articles. As I say, thus far, it hasn't made a fucking difference. We carry on, and we see what's going to happen. But while we do this fight, right, while we continue fighting to restore the Snyderverse, there's one victim. The DC universe and its characters. In fact, there's two. And the fans. The fans who like everything, who embrace everything, who want a DC universe, who are not interested in the toxicity and the arguments and the hashtags. These DC characters in the universe and these fans that I know, and I know some of you watch my videos and follow me on Twitter, just want to be happy and enjoy your DC. Oh boy, so do I. But here's the problem. We are part of an industry now as consumers where it's gone a bit political. It's gone a bit cockeyed. It's gone a bit cockeyed, hasn't it? There's a kind of power struggle against some of the consumers and some of the creatives. It's pretty toxic and terrible, isn't it? And the last thing on anyone's mind in the industry is entertainment, because I've told you, it's now representation over entertainment, right? First it starts with what Ray Fisher come up with, right? Accountability over entertainment. Then it's representation and inclusion over entertainment. What it should be entertainment and accountability and representation in the same line. Everyone working together to make great entertainment in a fair, representative way. But that's not what's happening here. And when it comes to the DCEU, they brought in a director, what Christopher Nolan did, as I keep on saying, who isn't commercially viable. But all of a sudden, that's kind of changed with this Justice League movie. But here's the problem. They can't just hand him back the keys. You know, the choo-choo, the engine's got coal in it, and the fire's been lit. The central universe has its plans now. What a mess. What a mess. Civil wars, power struggles, restore the Snyderverse. I've never seen a fucking thing like this in this industry before. And I've been watching films and TV since the age of 8, 10 years old. And this is the problem. These are the issues. And I just thought I'd let it out there today, once and for all, that I do not like the Superman Rebirth story, either in Justice League or in Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut. So there. So that's enough from me. Let's hear what DC Superfan Scott Edwards thinks about Supergirl. At Movies TV Mad, I wanted to add for the next DCEU Daily that I really liked Supergirl seasons 1 to 3. Well, it's good that someone did, Scott. Even though they were cringy at times, I could look past that because Melissa Benoist makes a great Supergirl, and for the first 3 seasons, she was fighting villains that were unique to her. Well, apart from that, a lot of those villains, Scott, are actually Superman villains, but yeah. At Movies TV Mad, and it felt like Kara's show, but starting in season 4, the show went downhill for me. Bringing in Lex Luthor for an extended main villain role on Supergirl was a mistake. John Cryer makes a great Lex, and a special one-off appearance would have been fine, and I like that he was in Crisis on Infinite Earths, but he should have been set up for Superman and Lois as a main villain, but not as a main villain on Supergirl. What are your thoughts? Scott, do you know why Johnny Cryer was brought into Supergirl? To save the fucking show, mate. It was dying. The show's been dying since it was cancelled on CBS, and it's been limping like Kaiser Sose from The Usual Suspects, right? And what happens is when Johnny Cryer's Lex is introduced, it starts walking properly. The show's been a shit show from day one Because as I said before, as I was talking about the DCEU and the problems in that franchise, Scott, they haven't got entertainment as their main priority. It's about social justice, feminism, representation and inclusion. And entertainment is last in that list. They cast Melissa Benoist, an actor who had her breasts hanging out in Homeland, right? And they were okay with that. Now, I love Mel Benoist. I think she's a great girl, everything. I'm just telling you, maybe the best person to cast wasn't someone we'd already seen in Homeland with her breasts hanging out, right? While she talks about feminism and male toxicity, when literally she was in Homeland as kind of this extra topless, right? What kind of message does that send? Although most people probably didn't even know she was in Homeland and she did that sequence, and it's fine. It's not a really big deal, but what I'm trying to show you is the hypocrisy, Scott, and everyone else. She talks about feminism and equality and good taste when she's doing that, and she's catering for the very person that she's sending these hateful messages about, right? But this show was problematic from its beginning, Scott. Now, I enjoyed the pilot until I heard Alex say, because she's a woman, then I knew what was going on here. So you had Khalees the Flockhart, right? Ali fucking McBeal playing Cat Grant. Brilliant casting, right? People came in every week to watch her. She was the strongest character in the show. She was funny. She was great, right? But that's the problem. Was this ever Cara's show, Scott? And then when CBS cancelled it, basically, Khalees the Flockhart wasn't interested in working in Canada. She lives in LA. So she was gone. So the main reason everyone was watching, which shouldn't have been the main reason everyone's watching, had gone. So basically, it was, and even before then, the show was struggling on CBS. They desperately cameoed and they did that Flash episode, Flash and Supergirl, or Flash versus Supergirl, whatever it was, right? Out of desperation. Do you remember how proudly they said when the CBS show launched, this is not part of Arrowverse. This is its own thing. We don't want anyone else standing in the way of this female superhero. Do you remember all of that? And then the hypocrites, when what their plans were didn't work, they decided to bring a male superhero to try and save them. And at the time, the Flash and Arrow were killing it, weren't they? Right? So out of desperation, they did that. Still was cancelled, and it ended up on the CW, where the show got worse and worse and worse. And that's why, Scott, that's why Johnny Cryer, a brilliant actor, a brilliant Lex Luthor, and I wasn't sure if the CW could construct a great Lex Luthor. But isn't it ironic, Scott? This strong female lead needed a toxic white supervillain male to save her. Isn't it interesting, right? Because that's how, when they talk about toxic white males, Lex Luthor is the very villain, isn't he? And they needed that man, that toxic male, that toxic supervillain to save that dying, limping show. Because if it wasn't for them, they were clever to bring him in, because if it wasn't for that, the show would have been cancelled before. Basically, bringing in Johnny Cryer has had that show limping on for a couple of more seasons, but finally people wised up even after that. Why is the show problematic? Because it's obsessed with its social agendas, right? It's obsessed with this representation. Now, all the representation they do is great. If they actually had a strong Supergirl and a strong Kara, instead of Kara being this needy young woman who needs a team around her. Let me draw you a more successful scenario, Scott. I've got an idea. How about, from the beginning, we don't just construct a Supergirl series, but a Superman and Supergirl super family show where you've got Supergirl, Superman, Val Zod, if you like, right? All these different versions, right? Crypto, everyone's in it. It's a family-friendly, super family show set in Metropolis, and Supergirl's there, right? And they're a team, and they're equals. Instead of having Team DEO, which is shit, and no point of, because they're obsessed. Balanti's obsessed with no superhero working alone, which I hate, right? This is why Superman and Lois, it's all family and they've got kids, because we can't just focus on Superman. By the way, Superman and Lois very rarely focuses on Clark Kent. We see him suit up for 5 minutes. I like that show, by the way. It's a much better effort than most of their efforts. It's probably the best effort since seasons 2 of Arrow and The Flash. Don't get me wrong. No wonder they don't want it crossing over, right? They don't want those shows to mess around with its tone. But we could have had a whole super family show. Call it what you want. Superman and Supergirl, whatever you want. So we could have had a whole universe of the super family, right? And Superman and Supergirl and Val Zod could be working together. Val Zod, you've got your representation, right? You could even create a Latino Superman to be as part of that family. It could have been a massive universe. But they don't think on representation on those levels, Scott. Not only do they, what they want to do is say, right, people of colour and minorities were marginalised in the past 40 years. So we need to get revenge on white actors and men. So we need to marginalise them now, and that's the kind of representation. So it's a hateful representation. It's not about fairness, and it's not about equality, and it's not about entertainment, Scott. And these are the real problems here, my friend. And this is how they're making their entertainment now. With entertainment, the last thing they are thinking of. And that, my friend, is why this show has failed. Not because of Lex Luthor. And I agree with you. In an ideal world, Johnny's Lex Luthor would be in Superman and Lois and he'd be great. But the problem is, he's kind of a campy Lex Luthor, so probably wouldn't have worked with the tone that they want to do. And I'm kind of interested what they are doing. And I love Superman and Lois. It's a great show for Superman. We want to see more Superman now, right? And more Clark Kent nuance as well. But they're doing a great job with it, and I like it. But that's what I'm saying to you. If they really cared about Superman and Supergirl, you could have actually done a Superman and Supergirl show rather than calling it Superman and Lois from the very beginning. Representation, different versions of the super family. It would have been beautiful, Scott. And this, my friend, is why it's failed, and not the inclusion of Lex Luthor. With Black Adam in its second day of filming, there's a really interesting article here about the actual DC comics and the Justice League comics, and the Justice League just coming together in this slate of comics. So I thought we'd give it a read. This is by Liam Maguire of Screen Rant. DC's new Justice League assembles, but there's a big problem. In previews of Justice League, the newest version of the team seemingly comes into conflict as they start to assemble in DC Comics. The new Justice League in the DC universe is about to assemble, and it's pretty obvious that at least one of the newest members will cause some conflict within the team, with Black Adam joining the roster. Wow, you see, we got the second day of Black Adam filming, and now he's part of the Justice League. Maybe a look at the live-action future too. A new preview suggests that his shocking inclusion on the team will come with some serious baggage and discussion. DC Comics, DC Comics' new Justice League team features both longtime heroes, a few returning faces, as well as a couple of new members thrown into the mix, while the likes of Batman, Superman and Aquaman lead the charge. Green Arrow, Black Canary and Hawkgirl are also back on the squad. Wonder Woman's mother, Hippolyta, is set to replace her missing daughter. Wow! Interesting, I like that. While Naomi MacDuff is also going to join, the most surprising addition is Black Adam, who is mostly known as a villain in the DC universe, although he's been turned into more of an anti-hero in recent years. Brian Michael Bendis and David Marquez spoke to Newsrama and discussed their upcoming run on the DC Super Team. Bendis said that Black Adam is going to cause some tension on the team, especially with Hippolyta. Newsrama showcased 6 new textless preview pages, which shows that there's going to be some issues in assembling the new Justice League. As Black Adam confronts Naomi before getting dragged away from Superman, it seems as though Kal-El is trying to recruit Black Adam, as Justice League 59 previously showed the Man of Steel taking special interest in the good his former adversary was doing. And there's some beautiful panels here, by the way, really is. Superman, Naomi and Black Adam's conversation lead to McDuffie being brought before the Justice League. The topic of conversation seems to be about Brutus, a mysteriously powerful villain who's already wreaked havoc on Earth, including Adam's home, Kahndaq, Enter Hippolyta, who seems to be responding to one of the Brutus attacks on Themyscira. If Brutus ravaged Amazonian paradise, then her mission is in no doubt personal against the alien bad guy. Again, more panels. Brilliant stuff here. Brilliant artwork. The issue is teasing big things for the Justice League. It appears the new version of the team will assemble in Justice League 60, but not without conflict. Superman might have faith in Black Adam, but it's unlikely the rest of the team, especially Hippolyta, as Bendis suggested, don't see him as someone they can trust. Will Black Adam prove himself against Brutus? It's going to be interesting to see what ultimately gets him on the side of all the heroes, if that's even possible, as even Superman's endorsement likely won't be enough. Justice League 60 is in stores on April the 20th, 2021. I like this idea. Let's go back, weird analogies here, but let's go back to the Lost TV series and even Prison Break and The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead had antagonists as part of the survivors' teams. It really helped. Do you remember the best friend of Rick's who was also a sheriff or a copper or whatever? And what happened there? Works. You've got Sawyer in the early days of Lost being an antagonist to Jack, who was literally the leader of the survivors. Prison Break, right? You've got that guy who goes, hi, pretty. Do you remember him? I forgot his name. It works. This kind of anti-hero part of this team of kind of anti-heroes themselves. But obviously the Justice League are pure heroes. And Hippolyta being part of the Justice League while Wonder Woman's missing is a great idea. So she's got to cope with a lot of emotion. And then with this villain attacking Themyscira as well. I like this. But I like Black Adam being part of the Justice League. And there's no question about it. Walter Hamada and J.J. Abrams are formulating a brand new live-action Justice League for the Central Universe, and strokes like this are going to be pulled for the live-action universe as well as the comics. And I love the way this could be going. And finally, my voice, you see, it's this hangover. Listen to that. How can I talk? I can't talk. Shall I try? Bloody hell, man. Anyway, let's try. It's the final part of the show, right? You know, the show must go on. I'm a professional. That was funny, wasn't it? Black Canary HBO series trends as fans call for Birds of Prey spin-off. DC fans get Black Canary HBO series to trend on Twitter as they call for Journey Smollett to return for Birds of Prey spin-off show by Cooper Hood of Screen Rant. Do you know what? Everyone's trending these days. It's not even a big deal to trend now. Sooner or later, I'm going to be trending, and that certainly wouldn't be a big deal. Or would it? Depending what it's about. Mick was caught having sex with blah, blah, blah celebrity. Well, I thought that was a secret. You see, I thought I'm kind of discreet with all the celebrities I have affairs with anyway. To celebrate Black Canary's birthday, Black Canary HBO series is trending on Twitter as fans call for Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn spin-off after Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn broke out in Suicide Squad. Warner Brothers and DC Films developed multiple movies for her to star in. Birds of Prey emerged from the development cycle and introduced Cassandra Cain, Ella J. Basco, Huntress, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Rennie Montoya, Rosie Perez, and Black Canary Journey Smollett to the DC Extended Universe. Basically, Journey's the one we've all fallen in love with from that film, by the way. Journey is what I call her. What should we call her? You know the term gentleman? I'm going to call her a gentle lady. She's so polite, so full of manners, really supportive of the Snyder Cut as well, by the way. If anyone deserves to continue her DC journey, it's her. No toxicity whatsoever, a very talented young woman, and I'd love her to continue Black Canary's story within the DC Extended Universe. The end of Birds of Prey paved the way for WB and DC to make sequels and spin-offs, and this has left fans hoping some of the new breakout characters will get shows of their own. Viewers particularly have taken an interest in seeing Journey Smollett return as Dinah Lance in some form. She was only starting to come into her own by the time Birds of Prey ended, and the movie last showed her teaming up with Montoya and Huntress to fight criminals. Smollett has expressed her desire to play Black Canary again in some capacity, and now fans are showing their support for more. April the 10th is Black Canary's birthday in the comics, so fans have rallied around the date to share the collective interest in a Black Canary HBO Max series. Black Canary HBO Max series is currently trending on Twitter with more than 10,000 tweets using the hashtag. While the campaign is primarily driven by DC fans, several creators associated with DC Comics have shared their support too. Artists Mitch Gerards, Doc Shanna, and writers Tom Taylor and Gail Simone are some of those with DC ties, while amplifying the Black Canary HBO series campaign. The desire for Black Canary HBO Max series comes as the streaming service is beginning to get a bigger DC presence. The platform recently became the home for Zack Snyder's Justice League after fans campaigned for years to see it released. Hopefully a Black Canary series won't take as long to be made. HBO Max is currently developing multiple DC shows that spin off from the movies. John Cena will star in Peacemaker after the Suicide Squad, and a GCPD prequel to the Batman is in the works. There are also plans for a Green Lantern show and a multiple Justice League Dark properties. Even though WB and DC have yet to announce any plans for Black Canary or other Birds of Prey characters to continue on HBO Max, Shane starring Journey Smollett could be great. Dinah's story can continue in multiple directions and dive deeper into her life and powers. It could also be a place to introduce Green Lantern to the DCEU or bring back other Birds of Prey stars if a sequel isn't going to be made, which it won't be. And since the CW has decided to not move forward with its Green Arrow and the Canary show, it could be the only DC property with Black Canary if it happens. Let me give you something. Do you know part of the reason that shit show wasn't greenlit on the CW? Because they're doing Journey Smollett's version. That's why. Basically, the Arrowverse version is dead. And let's face it, Journey Smollett is a critically acclaimed actor, unproblematic in terms of the people she works with and the people who consume her stuff. Me and you, we love her. I've just said I love her. I really do admire this young woman. So talented, so unproblematic. And when you see so much toxic political conversation from people in the industry, and when I hear people say, I'm a fan of this, I love the fans, even if they don't mean it, I love the fans, I love doing the role, I actually enjoyed the character, and I want to explore the character's journey more, rather than boring on about diversity and political commentary. I like that, and I like people like that, and I want to see people like this in the industry. It's got to be entertainment and representation and inclusion on the same line. Nothing goes above the other. We are in the entertainment industry, but we are in a more kind of expressive kind of era, which means we do expect to see different corners of the world represented, no matter where we are in the world. And that is important. Do it properly, though, and make sure entertainment is in mind when you do with these things. So I'd be absolutely up for that. By the way, talking of the Green Lantern Corps series, there has been a bit of a description on, what's his bloody name? The villain! Sinestro, that's it. Bit of a Sinestro. Apparently he's going to be really, really interesting. Really, really awesome. I can't wait to see who gets it. Is it the original actor that they've used in Shazam and Green Lantern as Sinestro? Sinestro, obviously, in Shazam, not Aquaman. You see, never have a lot to drink, have a pool party, and then do an episode of the DCEU Daily. But seeing that none of you do episodes of the DCEU Daily, I think you're going to be all right. So there's a bit of news of Sinestro there. I forgot the exact kind of description for him, but it looks like the casting calls are beginning. Very, very exciting. Can't wait to see that show. Some really good comic book people on there. There will be this kind of commentary in a lot of situations. I think with is it the Guy Gardner character or one of the others as well? I think because of they're going in a certain direction. So it will be a polarizing discussion like Falcon and the Winter Soldier as well. This is where we are now. You either consume this entertainment or you don't. Anyway, I'm going to have a cup of tea and a couple of paracetamols to try and get over this hangover. And I'll be back tomorrow with even more DCEU Daily. Comment down below. Like, share and subscribe, even though nobody ever does. A couple of people appreciate that. Love you for doing that. The rest of you, why do you hate me so much? See you again soon.